afternoon, everybody. It is a beautiful Wednesday today, and we have a special guest with us this afternoon as we are going to be kind of looking ahead to what we're going to be talking about on Sunday. Many of you know that Pastor Robinson leads our Tuesday night Bible study. For those of you that don't know, Pastor Robinson leads our Tuesday night Bible study, and he had the opportunity to give just a brief lesson because we look forward to talking about how Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Pastor Robinson is a very long friend of myself and especially Pastor Hill, and then he and his wife Devera, they serve at St. John Lutheran Church in Detroit, the church where Pastor Hill served for many years. So it's a blessing to have him with us this morning. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to actually watch his video because he has just the recording of the audio. So I've got his voice and his audio, and I'm going to try to follow his message with some pictures. And I would really encourage you to listen to the very end. It's a wonderful message as we talk about how Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Again, as you are listening and you have prayer requests, please put them in the comment box. And then, as always, we would love to pray for you. You can call the number on the screen here if you would like for somebody to pray with you. I will be back with you on Friday as we look towards a little bit of a chillier weekend, but beautiful nonetheless, and all the more reason to give thanks and praise to God. We're going to be joined actually this coming Sunday with Pastor Duncan. Many of you saw him on, I think it was last week when he gave his message on here. So he's going to be joining Pastor Hill and myself for this weekend. So looking forward to that. So I'm going to send it over to Pastor Robinson at this time. Have a great weekend, everybody. Have a great week, everybody, and God's blessings and God's peace to you.
For the upcoming Sunday, the fifth Sunday in Easter season, the text is John 14, 1 through 14. And it begins with Jesus saying, "Let not your hearts be troubled." When we think about what had just gone on beforehand, there is a reason for the disciples to be troubled. In chapter 13, just before, Jesus washes his disciples' feet, and they see that as a very strange thing for a leader to do, to become a servant. Jesus predicts Judas betraying him, so that catches the disciples also by surprise, and they're wondering because he doesn't mention name, who is it? Then Jesus predicts his leaving, saying that he is going to be gone from them. And finally, Jesus predicts Peter's denial. So after hearing these four things come out of Jesus' mouth, probably in very quick succession, they're beginning to wonder, are they losing Jesus? Is the team being broken up? Are the disciples coming into serious problems that Jesus is talking about? So they have a reason to be troubled. Just like today, whenever we find ourselves either in the middle of the loss of someone to this virus, or just the loss of our ability to move around and our desire to want to rush to come back to normal, we are in troubling situations. So Jesus also speaks these words to us. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Do not see the trouble that is here, but do not let this trouble overcome you, overtake you. Do not let your hearts be troubled. And as he speaks this to us too, we see Jesus follow this up with that in my Father's house there are many mansions, there are many rooms, there are many dwelling places. And we understand, usually I preach this at funerals because we're talking about how things have disappeared from what's going on in God's life. But really, this is a text for any situation in which we find ourselves in trouble. Jesus is saying that he understands what trouble is. He understands each individual trouble. Not only is he speaking to the disciples in their trouble, he knows the future. So he's speaking to people in any trouble situations. And as we find ourselves today in trouble, he is speaking to us. He's telling us that, first of all, he understands these troubling situations even before they happen. He understood then in the disciples' situation. He understands now in ours. He knew this troubling situation was coming. So as he speaks to the disciples then, he speaks to us today. And he says, do not let your hearts be troubled. Then Jesus goes on to say that I am preparing a place. The Father has many, many places that there will be rooms or old English mansions or dwelling places. And then he goes on to say that I'm going to prepare this place, and you know the way to this place. And so Thomas speaks up because Thomas is the questioner. And Thomas says, Lord, we don't know the way because we don't even know where you're going. So how can we know the way? And then Jesus comes back with that iconic response that we all know in the Christian community. I am the way. Jesus says, I am the way. But even within that response, he is also saying, not only am I the way, I am the place. I am where you are going to. And it's important that we understand this because Jesus is trying to get us to think differently than what is a, quote, normal way to a place and what is a, quote, normal place. He's trying to get us to see that both the way and the place are really talking about a relationship with him. Jesus is telling us that I am going to prepare a place for you, but not just in the final destination, but in the places you find yourself along the way of life. He says, not only am I going to show you what the way to that place is, but I'm going to tell you that I am the way. It's as though Jesus was saying, not only am I the destination, but I am the road. We need to start looking at when Jesus talks about the way as if that is a guide, a road, a direction in which we follow, and more that is Jesus. So we keep our eyes on Jesus. We know the way. And even when we look at place, the final destination, where we're going, and we think that this is going to be a specific place, and we think in terms of that, Jesus is saying, no, don't think in terms of a place or a destination you're going to. Think in terms of me. So Jesus is telling us that not only is he the way to the place, not only is he the journey to the place, but he is also the place. So when we think about other scriptures that say that I am the author and finisher of your faith, I am the one who initiates your way, I am the one who lets you know the place, because it's all about the relationship. And when we look at that, instead of looking at the things that we find ourselves in because we think if we're not on the right road, we can't get to the right place. If Jesus is the road, we'll get to the right place. Or we think that we're going down the right road and will we get to the right place? Jesus is not only the road, he is the place. So when we keep our focus on Jesus, especially in times of trouble, this is how we not let our hearts be troubled. We say to our troubled heart, don't be troubled, but just think that Jesus, he is my way to wherever I need to be going, and he is the destination when I get there. To really consider what God is speaking to us and showing us, we have an opportunity to see the Lord within everything we do, because he is the way through this trouble, and he is the destination of our travel. Jesus is what keeps our hearts from being troubled. Amen.